Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Virtue Signal, the podcast about being moral in amoral times with three good people. My name is Eleanor Russell. I am here with Taylor Meanswell.
Hello, I have to clarify my statement from the last episode that listening to us will result in you being a good person.
Yes.
Our legal department has said that I should just pretend I didn't say that and not bring it up again, but I'm doing it because of my integrity to you, the listener.
So beautiful, Taylor. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, and never do it again.
Yeah, and this is Andre Kello. He's here with us as well.
Hey, everybody.
We are talking about what is art? What is art? What is art?
Yes, Leo Tolstoy's What is Art?
What is art? What's all this art doing here? It's written by Leo Tolstoy. It took him 15 years, or it took him over the course of 15 years to write it. Not that he was constantly writing for 15 years, because he got distracted by other projects. It's a pretty excoriating text. It's very pleasant. It continues with our theme, I think, of posting through it, which has been generally a undergirding formalism that has structured our podcast selection so far. I want to talk about the thing that I have to speak to first is the way that from the very beginning, the way that like 1890s Russia was like fucking thriving in the culture industry. Like there's like, well, now we enjoy the arts all over the country enjoy so much funding and recent investment. Isn't that just crazy considering how bad most of it is? And it's like, I can't post reviews of theatrical productions I see online because I think that even bad art should be like seen and it would like bury them, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's just such a different world.
We don't live in a world where the main problem is too much art.
There's too much art and there's too much interest in the arts. Like, that's crazy.
And too much money being spent on the arts. And too many people going to see ballet.
People keep going to the opera. They're always at the opera nowadays, you know? That's what I notice. Don't you? So we talk... His thing, basically, from what I can tell, is that bourgeois culture and the social stratus has monopolized the domain of culture and the arts industry and is too entrenched in tradition and is too much in the business of sort of like reasserting itself as a form that it is an actual progress or innovation or creating something new. So he has a lot of criticism of ballet, of opera, of theater. He has that example he does.
Timothy Chalamet be like...
I know, right? I thought about that. And he just sort of decries the, like, what is it when, like banality of it, you know? It's kind of a banality of art thing, right, Andre?
I think that he thinks that art is concerned with the wrong things.
Yes.
Specifically, it's concerned far too much with making the audience happy.
Yes. He is longing to be challenged by art. That is what he dreams of.
Yes.
But he also believes that challenge that art can create when it's, you know, good art or the art kind of art he wants is as much as it challenges you, it also affirms this like obsession he has with brotherly love and friendship and connection, which is another common theme we've had throughout all of our texts, where there's always been this very grounding interest in friendship as like a galvanizing philosophical agent. And that's really here too. He's like really interested in brotherly love. And also we can talk about how gay that is, which is, you know, also a theme. So as much as he doesn't take the challenge of art as like a annihilative thing or like a destructive thing, but actually like a really constructive and futuristic thing. He talks about the art of the future in these terms.
At the very end, he does talk about the art of the future, yes.
Yes.
And he does, we'll skip back and forth throughout, but at the end he does talk about how in the future art will be Christian and it'll be religious and it'll be spiritual, but it won't be church art or art about nations or art about patriots or sexy or anything that he doesn't approve of. It'll just be the thing that unites everyone on the planet, which means the only thing that'll be of value will be the art that everyone in the world agrees is good.
Yes. which is a
We have not
tall
quite
order.
gotten there.
Not yet. Not there. Tall
People really
order.
liked the Superman movie last summer, but we're not quite there.
I am confident we'll spend plenty of time problematizing Tolstoy's criteria and methods. And I just want to share with the two of you, first of all, express gratitude at all of the wonderful reading and ideas and voices I've been exposed to since we started this project. I do kind of want to slow down on how much reading I have to do. We'll talk about that off the mic.
Same, actually.
But something that has really dawned on me, I took a Philosophy 101 class last year. I'm 31 years old. I'm in community college still. And I developed this impression
They're
then,
calling her the most stand-up comedian of all time.
give me another 12 years and I'll graduate. First in my family to just do community college.
That's amazing. Wait, that's awesome.
That's not true. That's not
Oh,
true.
man.
Would be a pleasant surprise, though. I'm coming to the realization that philosophers, and also myself, maybe I'm a philosopher too,
Yeah, you are.
for these authors, these thinkers, these strong opinion havers, their ideology and construction and criteria for what is good tends to be downstream of the things that they already don't like personally.
Oh, yeah. No, the thing I like about philosophy that I think makes it superior to science and like more real and human is because you only come to it because you have shit you want to get off your chest. Like, it's like why I never trust philosophers who get into philosophy because they're like, what is the meaning of the world? I got into philosophy because I was like, whoa, Twin Peaks is awesome. Like, that's pure. Or like, oh my God, I love the way Celine Dion sings. What's a voice? What makes up a voice? What is a beautiful voice? Like, those are the kinds of things I come to ideas through experience. And people who don't come to ideas through experience have bad ideas, I find, because they're not grounded. They have no real tangibility to them.
But what Tolstoy says is that philosophers, he says aesthetic philosophy by the end of the 19th century had been around for, I think he said 250 years,
Yeah.
150 years, something like that.
Aesthetic philosophy being, in one sentence, defined as...
The philosophy of art.
Okay, because the word aesthetic gets thrown out a lot as an adjective.
That's going to be something that I speak to.
Okay,
In fact, I'll do
great.
it right now. When people say something is aesthetic, they're wrong and you should call them out. I'm not being a language cop. The world is being actively rewritten by the worst people in the world, and they're trying to make language mean like whatever they want it to mean. We have to avoid this. We're not going to say aesthetic in that particular configuration. I'm very against it. I caught Andre doing it earlier, and I read him the riot act. So
So to say something is aesthetic is problematic, but to say that something has an aesthetic...
yes, is normal.
Okay.
To say something is aesthetic is meaningless because everything, the way that we know things is through aesthetics. Aesthetics are what make politics and emotions knowable. The way that we perceive things as aesthetic, sensuous, emotional, affective entities. That's how we come to knowledge itself. So when people say something is merely aesthetics, that can mean something. It can mean, oh, you're just dressing something up that's actually bullshit or wrong or whatever. That as a phrase is meaningful. But aesthetics is always already rooted. I'm sorry. Politics and philosophy and ideas are always aestheticized because they can't not be, because that's how we know them. Do you see what I mean?
Now, Tolstoy also spends the beginning of the book being a language cop about the word beautiful.
Yeah. But which is actually a bugaboo very common. Doesn't Kant do the same thing?
In what?
When he's talking about like critique of pure reason and
Oh,
stuff.
you would know better than me.
He gets weird about philosophers get really weird about beauty. I think because they're dudes and they can't have it, or they think so they're like, I love beauty and it's this thing that does something to me and that makes me anxious, you know. Before we get much further, I do want to say, what is the thesis of this text? Let's have let's each go through. We'll start with Taylor, then Andre, then moi.
Okay. So...
Last time we did this at the very end, and I think it was kind of let's do it first.
It is bad to make bad art, but there is something that is worse than making bad art, which is making art that is not good.
Oh, bars. Oh, that is good, Tay-Tay. Oh, okay, Andre, you go. Oh, wait, no, Taylor, you have more.
Tolstoy goes into two conceptions of what makes art good, right? And we'll get into that in detail, but one being the more, I guess, formal and technical side of it, and the other being the values and virtues that the art represents, right? And he
System of values, yeah.
spills a lot of ink on art and culture that is made according to bad values. So,
Which is why this is a moral philosophy text as much as it is an artistic one, and they're one and the same.
I think that's right. I think that Tolstoy spends chapter 3 of the book going one by one through every philosopher who ever talked about art. Not as far back as the Greeks. He starts more or less with he starts with not Winckelmann but the guy before him.
I felt really insecure reading that part because I think that I'm like pretty recently well read in philosophy, and I was like, I don't know who half of these guys are. I don't know who they are.
Well, he starts in the 1750s, and he goes on one by one to take on. He takes on Hegel, he takes on Schopenhauer, he takes on every philosopher who ever wrote about art, and he says why they were wrong. And what it comes down to is that there were two definitions of beauty that they settled on, and they're both horseshit.
Yes.
One is that the beautiful is simply that which is pleasing. And then Hegel and other metaphysical types believe that beautiful things connect to some kind of otherworldly thing that can't be comprehended, right? And so what Tolstoy settles on in the book is, in fact, what you're supposed to do with art is make the world a better place. Now, how does art make the world a better place? Art makes the world a better place by breaking down the boundaries that separate the self from the other, by giving people the opportunity to share an experience, and that this builds a brotherhood of man.
Yes.
I know this is a very me thing to say, but I do feel like the specter of communism is present in this book. There are some ways in which it's not, where he says some things where I'm like, wait, what are you talking about? But this notion of progress towards the unity of man, and in the beginning, in that opening chapter of the book, he walks blindly almost right up to a class analysis when he's talking about how many
Yes, I know
laborers
that
it
part,
takes to
yeah.
put on a production. And I just, I can see where...
At the end of the book also, he talks about how workers are the people who are going to begin making art now because they have additional free time, and that the great proportion of future art will not be made by a handful of rich idiots, but instead will be made by the greatest minds in the world who discover that because they have access to art tools, they have a propensity for it and they will make great things. And that furthermore, you no longer even need art school, because people will have, we will be surrounded by so many examples of great works of art that it will be impossible for those who are interested to not gain expert level knowledge of art making from their ambient environment.
I just had an idea for a work of art. Okay, you know how you were just talking about art tools? Okay, so it's that Far Side comic of cow tools, but instead the cows have like paints, brushes, and ballet shoes and stuff like that. Yeah, art tools. That's my idea. Okay, so can I give my definition? All right. I think that ultimately the greatest strength of this piece is also its weakness, which is that it's ultimately teleological. It believes in a progression. It believes in inevitable progression, that art will evolve, or good art, as it should be in the right conditions, will evolve and create something new, and that will result in the future of art that will be free of such banalities as tradition has entrenched thus far. What that art will do, like Andre said, is it will break down the barrier between self and other, but also the self versus the like fake self too. It's about like analysis of your inner life too. And also he says that art is about communication, and that's a word that I have a lot of trouble with, because I don't think that's what I don't really know what that means. Art communicates. I don't know what communicates means in this case. Also, there's plenty of art that is interested in not communicating anything, actually, that it thrives in like opacity. Like I think about Edouard Glissant's idea of like the right to opacity, the right to sort of assert that you're not here to be understood, but you're here to sort of say something new and that is true. But then again, maybe that's communicating something else. It's just more a negation. I don't know. I'm troubled by the communication aspect, and I'd like to hear what you guys have to say about that.
Well, one of the things he talks about in the book is the difference between the experiences and ideas.
Yeah, and I find that really troubling because I don't think that they're different from each other.
This is possibly a point of debate for philosophers going back quite a while.
Yeah.
I am a big fan of Gilles Deleuze. I think you are too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Deleuze said in What is Philosophy that there are three things. There's
Count 'em.
There's art, which is experiences. There's philosophy, which is ideas. And there's science, which is facts. And so what that means is that when Tolstoy talks about ideas, manifesting, right, in a way that, he cribs a little from Schopenhauer, which he admits to, which is that these geniuses have access to better ideas than other people, and therefore they have the ability to turn those ideas into more beautiful things than other people, right? That's Schopenhauer's idea. Actually, why don't I just read the part where he talks about Schopenhauer?
Sure. Where Tolstoy talks about, yeah, do it.
All right, let's do that.
Because we haven't actually read any Schopenhauer for this podcast, but we talk about him a lot, so it's kind of worth. Well, Andre talks about him a lot, so it's worth maybe positing.
This is a lore drop for y'all.
Yeah.
According to Hegel, God manifests himself in nature and in art in the form of beauty. God expresses himself in two ways, in the object and in the subject, in nature and in spirit. Beauty is the shining of the idea through matter. Only the soul and what pertains to it is truly beautiful, and therefore the beauty of nature is only the reflection of the natural beauty of the spirit. The beautiful has only a spiritual content, but the spiritual must appear in sensuous form. The sensuous manifestation of spirit is only appearance or shine. And this appearance is the only reality of the beautiful. Art is thus the production of this appearance of the idea, and is a means, together with religion and philosophy, of bringing to consciousness and of expressing the deepest problems of humanity and the highest truths of the spirit. Truth and beauty, according to Hegel, are one and the same thing, the difference being only that truth is the idea itself as it exists in itself and is thinkable. The idea, manifested externally, becomes, to the apprehension, not only true but beautiful. The beautiful is the manifestation of the idea. An opponent of Hegel was Schopenhauer, who denied Hegel's whole system, his aesthetics included. According to Schopenhauer, will objectivizes itself in the world on various planes, and although the higher the plane on which it is objectivized, the more beautiful it is, yet each plane has its own beauty. Renunciation of one's individuality and contemplation of one of these planes of manifestation of will gives us a perception of beauty. All men, says Schopenhauer, possess the capacity to objectivize the idea on different planes. The genius of the artist has this capacity in a higher degree and therefore makes a higher beauty manifest.
Okay. So, can we do a Berserk drop at some point? You know, the thing at the beginning of Berserk was like, man has lost control even of his own will, or whatever. Yeah, we got to do that at the beginning. Anyway, okay, so that was his thoughts on Schopenhauer. I think the question of genius is unsettled in Tolstoy. I think that he kind of waffles on it. He doesn't really, like, he thinks it's like I like that he thinks of it as a capacity and not as like an identity. Like, genius is this thing that like happens to you, and this is how it like it positions itself or makes itself known. What else do you want to say about Schopenhauer, by the way?
Well, I think that Schopenhauer was tied up with this idea that people are mostly bad, but he's good.
Well, that's like us. That's exactly like us. Yeah.
No.
Schopenhauer, come on the pod.
Ready to talk.
I think that one of the reasons that he's famous for saying that the worst thing that can happen to you is that you become bored.
So true. My son would agree. Yeah.
Gen Alpha coded.
That is so no, but that's also me coded. Like, oh my god, I got a headache the other day from being bored. Like, I hate it. It's the worst.
Yeah, I think Schopenhauer is not so much concerned with the like brotherhood of man like Tolstoy is, you know, and possibly the reason that he was so uninterested in Hegel's project is that Hegel was trying to figure out how things fit together, and Schopenhauer's like, how dare you imply that I fit into anything?
Well, as Norman Bates reminds us,
There's a lot of internet queers like that, actually.
Norman Bates reminds us, a man's first best friend is his mother. Just something that no one brings up here. So I guess maybe Norman Bates was innovating there. I don't know.
I think that it's not an accident of translation that Tolstoy keeps talking about like art being a thing made by men.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, because that was notable to
Yeah,
me,
me
but I
too.
just dismissed it as
Yeah,
the times
me
or
too.
whatever.
I did the same thing. But can you say more about
Well,
that?
this is 1898, I believe.
when it was published. Yeah.
Right. The following year, Interpretation of Dreams by Freud comes out. And, I think that Freud is taking another approach to the same subject matter as Tolstoy. Tolstoy is trying to solve with Christianity what Freud is trying to solve with psychoanalysis, which is that all these people, all these philosophers over the last 150 years or so, when they're writing about aesthetics and warping their decision-making process and their thoughts in order to accommodate the taste that they've already accepted as being a part of their identity, Tolstoy and Freud are both trying to solve that puzzle. Like, how can these rational people not recognize that they are clearly succumbing to their own unconscious desires and trying to justify them externally? Right? Tolstoy goes point by point and insists that each one of these philosophers is turning himself into a kind of conceptual pretzel in order to avoid having to take responsibility for simply enjoying certain things. None of them want to be held individually, personally responsible for it. They want those things to be objectively beautiful. And Freud, his solution is, actually, I built an entire model of the human mind that explains where these thoughts come from.
Yeah.
And you don't have to have a philosophical justification for why you like things. It's caused by the things that you were exposed to in your life. It's caused by your personal history.
Well, what I like about Tolstoy that's different from those is that he seems to believe that assessing your likes and dislikes is a moral imperative, and we shouldn't actually be trying to strive to find some sort of get-out-of-jail-free card.
I think both things are true, though. And I think that what you need is to have the Tolstoy and the Freud so that people know this is what I like.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that that's what I should make.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Right, like, I think about this all the time. Like, my research is on transgressive art and the avant-garde, but my heart is with mid-century, like, realism. Like, I always say, like, my favorite work of art in theater is two people on stage torturing each other emotionally for, like, 2.5 hours. Like, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, like Ibsen, like, that's my favorite thing. I love that. Do I think that it rehearses a sort of bourgeois subjectivity? Of course. Do I fucking love it and know why I love it? Yeah, because I love a well-made play, I love that shit. But I know that there's stuff that I should be more interested in analyzing because of its creative potential,
Well, surprise, surprise, this was not the end of the discussion. And this fight amongst academics and philosophers about what constitutes good art kept right on going. And it has not been solved even today.
Surely it's
No, sorry.
damn.
Did you read the Hinton Alls thing about the biennial, the Whitney Biennial? He's calling it like the ChatGPT of art.
Gross.
Yeah, it's real bad. I was like, shit, man.
The biennial has been pretty bad for a long time.
Yeah, it's true. I don't know.
I think it was the 2012 biennial where, was it 2012 or 2014, where Andre Frazier wrote that essay that was included in the exhibition text.
Yeah, I think it was 2014 because we went to that one.
That was about how the whole thing was pointless and that there's no reason to make art anymore and that everything has been captured by capital and that all of this is just to like enrich people who are already enriched.
Yeah.
You know, that more or less we have come to a point where capitalism has destroyed contemporary art. And that was more than a decade ago.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. So.
I have a question. Is it fair to say that Tolstoy thinks that you should not let people enjoy things?
I was actually going to bring that up. The thing I find really refreshing about this is that he's like, we should not let people enjoy things. I love that. I think that's so refreshing and feels good to hear. Yeah.
Well, in chapter 19, I believe, he talks about different kinds of art of the future, and he describes how the good stuff will be the stuff that is enjoyed by everyone in the world.
Yeah.
And which is a conception of mass art that is very different from the ones that come in the 20th century.
I do want to take a second to critique his ocular centrism. What was really interesting though, at one point he says, in Russian, by the word krasota, beauty, we mean only that which pleases the sight. And though latterly people have begun to speak of an ugly deed or a beautiful music, it is not good Russian, which is like a weird, cool thing to address about the limits of your own language. But yeah, I was thinking about like, I wanted him to dig into that.
They're on their way here right now to catch you for saying this.
Yeah. Oh my God. Would you hide me?
The Whitney sent their shooters.
So I wanted to talk about that a little bit about for someone so interested
This is actually
in
Andre on the keys again.
this aspect of it. Like, I wanted him to talk more about like the senses and the role they play in aesthetic experience and what makes
He starts
art.
going pretty deep into the whole concept of the senses and then leaves it behind
Exactly.
for
And I
a
don't-
moral framework.
Yeah,
eventually.
and I'm like, I wish there was like a second version of it, like Taylor's version, where he talks about, what he really means by like the experience of sight and hearing and what the image is and stuff like that.
We get into that stuff with 20th century writers. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I think that he goes about as far as you can in 1898. The fact is that
People were talking about the senses in the early modern period, dude.
he talks about the senses in the book
I know, but like, it's not too much to ask from someone.
that he focused more on the senses.
I think so, yeah.
Well, Deleuze would agree with you because he's talking about what is art, and the answer that Deleuze comes up with is it's the senses.
Yeah, art is something that happens to you. That's what I always say.
Right.
Yeah.
But can we talk about the Winckelmann? Because I wanted
Okay.
to read this little section from the Winckelmann.
We can talk about the Winckelmann, and then I want to talk about the limits of Tolstoy's philosophy of art when it comes to hentai.
Because
Stay tuned, I guess.
so one of the first writers that he talks about in chapter 3 when he's doing his literary review of every philosopher who's ever talked about art, he talks about Winckelmann, who wrote a famous essay about the Belvedere torso, which is a statue of just the torso, no arms, no legs, no head, of Hercules.
And it's like a ship of Theseus kind of thing, and Rancière talks about it extensively.
Yeah,
in
Rancière
Aesthesis.
talks about it in a number of. He goes back over and over again to Winckelmann and this essay about the Belvedere torso. And here, let me just because I think it's an important text, along with the Lessing and a bunch of the other things that are mentioned in the text. But I'm going to briefly read a little bit of the Winckelmann.
Gotthold Lessing, first dramaturg.
So, this is Winckelmann's essay, description of the torso in the Belvedere in Rome. Ask those who are familiar with what is most beautiful in the nature of mortals, whether or not they've seen a flank which may be compared with the left one. The action and reaction of its muscles have been wonderfully weighed out with a wise measure of alternating motion and quick force. And in the body must have been made capable by the same means for all that it was intended to accomplish, as in a rising motion of the sea. The previously still surface swells into a lovely tumult with playful waves, which, where one is swallowed by the other and is again rolled out from the very same wave, here, just as softly swollen and drawn in suspension, one muscle flows into the other, and a third, which raises itself between them and seems to strengthen their motion, loses itself in the latter, and our glance is, as it were, likewise swallowed. I would like to stand here quietly in order to give space to our considerations, to impress on the imagination an everlasting image of this flank. But the high beauties exist here without limits and are in inseparable communication. What a conception develops here at the same time out of the hips, whose firmness can show that the hero must never have wavered and must never have bowed down.
That was the hentai portion.
So Winkleman is being horny.
I really think that's beautiful writing.
Sensuous, yes.
Yeah. I think that's what I would wanted more of in the Tolstoy.
Well, yeah, what's going on, I
Did
think...
you know he has those muscles, too?
He's Tolstoy!
Well, Tolstoy specifically says that the sensual and the erotic and things that are meant to titillate, that's no good. You know, that's not very Christian. It doesn't unite people. And possibly the reason being that there isn't one thing that's erotic to everyone and therefore can't be good art.
Yeah.
Right? When Winckelmann is talking about the torso, he's talking about these like waves and folds and overlappingness. And,
Very Deleuzian.
yeah. And it
Also very Hellraiser.
it isn't that it is an accurate reflection of what a body looks like. It's that it, in its execution, creates a manifestation of the idea of this profound heroic body. Mm-hmm. And it's the things that it makes you feel from being face to face with the sensory experience of its physical nature, rather than its representational powers.
It's structural, it's not representational.
It is a thing. It's an object. It has bounds. It has dimensions, and you experience it with your senses, and it makes you feel profound things about this heroic figure, right? His strength.
I had a experience like that at a museum, the art museum in Dublin once. I cannot find this painting for the life of me, but it's got a green, it's outside in a cliff area background, and there's a guy who has been chained, and he has broken his chains and has his arms raised above his head. And it's a very common thing in art, right? But for some reason, there's something about the way the color green worked in it that just kind of blew me away. It made me feel like that. Like that was sort of like the great figure, this great hero.
Did it make you feel the emotion the artist felt?
I don't know. I don't really care if it did, actually. That's the thing, that's something I've never, maybe I'm an anti-intellectual, but I've never given a shit what the relationship between the artist intention and mine is. I've never cared, not one time.
But that's problematic for Tolstoy's
Yes.
artistic framework, right? Where where the success of a work of art, one of the successes in the first sense of goodness is to communicate, asterisk, problematic, your emotion from the artist to the other. But you raise a really interesting point. How are we as the consumers of art to know what the artist was feeling?
Well,
is it what we were feeling?
Well, I'm just so biased because my training as a scholar is in Munosian theory and disidentification and queer of color critique, where it's taking the dominant culture and deliberately misinterpreting it in kind of a bad faith but productive, restorative way, looking at and that can be used maliciously and badly.
But it is
and
also
often
more or
is.
less what Winckelmann is doing.
Yeah, and that's I think why I like that more than many
that
of
statue was not intended by the guy who created it to be displayed with the head and the arms and legs missing.
Yeah, there's a great article by Tavio Nyong'o where he talks about gay guys in Jamaica dancing to like some of the most homophobic music you've ever heard in your entire fucking life, and like that's like sort of like a reparative art practice, which I really like.
This idea of disidentification, it does imply a value to art in its ability to build communities against some kind of an external force, which means that the thing that's actually accomplishing the stuff that Tolstoy says is the point of art isn't the art, and it's not the artists, it's the audience.
Yes. Yeah. Art is something that happens to you.
Right. Now, he says the art of the future will bring together all of humanity into a brotherhood of man.
Okay.
That is something that can happen because people come together. It isn't something that is like dependent on a particular conception of art.
Is that what is happening when all these like AI depictions of like Trump dying or whatever? Like, is that brotherly love? Like, are we being brought together by like making memes about like the world? I don't know. Like,
is Trump bringing people in America together by providing us with a common enemy? And is that a potential model for art making?
That's what I'm wondering, genuinely.
Right. I think that people coming together to hate something
is one of my favorite things to do.
By Tolstoy's definition, I don't know that it's simply the art that brings together humanity, right? Not the art that brings together humanity in appreciation of that art's beauty. It's simply the art that brings together humanity. So a bad, ugly, unpleasant art that brings together humanity and makes the world a better place is the best art.
Like the Iran AI videos I was talking about last time. Like
Okay.
those. The hater. I love that. Yeah. Those that's what the work of that art is doing. Well, the work of art in the age of mechanical reproduction, that's the work it's doing.
Well, I want to read. I have a quote here from chapter 16. It's kind of the main, the big one for this book, where religious art, transmitting both positive feelings of love to God and one's neighbor, and negative feelings of indignation and horror at the violation of love, manifests itself chiefly in the form of words. The second kind, universal art, transmitting feelings accessible to all, manifests itself in words, in paintings, sculpture, dances, architecture, and most of all, music.
Most of all, music.
So when you talk about Trump getting shot that one time, for instance, being like a good piece of art, like, does it bring us together? It unites us in our like revulsion to the defilement of love.
Yeah.
Right. And so for those reasons, it is religious art. And I want to speak briefly about Tolstoy's, what he means when he's talking about religious art and Christian art specifically. Tolstoy doesn't like the church.
Right. He's
makes a
one of
point of
those
that.
like religious guys who doesn't like the church.
Yeah, he says that the future art is going to be Christian art and not bad art like we have already. And he mentions church art.
Yes, he does delineate between Christian art and church art. Christian to him is distinctly different, probably closer to what it would be to me if you want to listen to our first episode.
What are you doing, Andre?
Throwing away soda.
For Tolstoy, religious just means the highest ideal that we can aspire to. And he goes through and he names ancient societies and their works of art upholding their ideals, like in the case of the ancient Greeks, power and strength. And,
I admit,
Right, yeah.
took
Art
me-
that does what the religion is supposed to be doing, not art that supports the institution of the church.
And I admit, it took me reading this. This is my second time reading it. I last read it years ago. This is my first time. This is the first time I actually understood what he was talking about with that. Because I was like really confused by what he meant by religious.
yes, it's not,
Yeah.
he doesn't make an effort to make that clear.
I think it helps to know a certain amount about Tolstoy's life and the rest of his work and about how the end of his life was defined by his Christian mysticism.
See, I don't really know that much about Tolstoy.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. I think I would be interested in knowing more about church art and what he means by that in like 1890s Russia. Because I hear church art and I think of like Jesus with his hand on like a youth's shoulder on a boat, you know, or like I'm thinking of the bad oil paintings
One
at
set
my
of footprints in the
grandma's
sand.
church, in my grandma's Methodist church in Monterey, California, like in the 90s. Like
You know,
that's what I'm thinking about.
Growing up Southern Baptist in South Carolina, I was face to face with some pretty unpleasant religious artworks.
Tell me a really bad one. I love
Just
this.
a lot of depictions of an extremely white, blonde, blue-eyed Christ.
That's church art, though, is what Tolstoy would say.
okay,
Yeah, you should have said church art instead of religious art.
All right. Well, church art. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's why I think everybody who reads this initially experiences exactly the same confusion that you did.
Yeah.
Right. Which is that they know that this is about, like, more or less an apology for Christian art. Right.
Yeah.
But
Which is needed, and I appreciate it.
But it's his conception of Christianity and Christian spiritualism and Christian religious sentiment, which is separate and different from the church, right? Which was in the 1890s consistent with a larger Enlightenment project, right? There were people in the 18th century, you know, in America and elsewhere in the world who, like Tolstoy, had this, you know, idiosyncratic personal idea of what spirituality or religion really was, and that the church was in the way, right? This is consistent with deism at the beginning of the American project among people like Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin. And, you know, in the 19th century, we see a lot of this. We see all kinds of, like, poets and philosophers and scientists and etc. who draw a distinction between the religious or spiritual as being a kind of personal project that everyone can engage in, and that it is equal from one person to another, versus the church, which is hierarchical and which is concerned with economics and which is concerned with history and is separate from the actual struggle on the individual level to engage with God.
It made me think about a corollary in terms of this formulation about church art versus religious art, right? Where we have like American art, like Hamilton, or like the Founding Fathers painting, or like.
Do you remember that cartoon we watched of that rabbit from the 70s that was like the all-American rabbit? And he could run really fast, and he left behind some like American flag blur when he ran.
Yeah. No, like, so there's like these nationalist projects that are American art, right? And then there's like Chocolate Rain, or I don't know, like something.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
or like
Tolstoy would have hated the former and
Yeah.
called it patriotic or nationalistic
Yeah.
art, right?
or like, you know, or American art. I don't know. What's like a.
Like Jasper Johns. Like
Yeah.
The paintings of the American flag.
Yeah. Or like American Gothic, you know. But that's also a nationalist project. I don't know. Who's that guy who went to go see? Edward Hopper, I think, is sort of making American art too.
Yeah, I would call Edward Hopper probably a definitional American artist
Yeah,
of the
I would
20th
say
century.
that.
I think
I think
that's
it's
fair.
not religious. I
Yeah.
love Edward Hopper. Oh, I love Edward
We went to his
Hopper.
house in Beacon.
Did you beat the fuck out of him? Because I would have. Sorry.
I went to his house that and there was a picture of him
And he
as
used
a
to
baby.
doodle on his report card.
It's also a drawing of him as a little baby boy with his hands behind his back crossed. It's just one of the sweetest things I've ever seen. It reminded me of my nephew at the time. So there's like, that's still kind of a nationalist project, but it's. So yeah, I'm not talking about religious art in this. I'm saying, giving a corollary. I'm saying there's like American art that is a nationalist project, and then there's American art that is like expressive and like representative of like a more Americana-ness
Right,
than
art in America.
beyond like patriotism or definitional qualities.
An art that's about the experiences of Americans in America of America, rather than an attempt ideologically to promote the interests of the nation.
But the thing is, those things can also be nationalist project. You could posit that Mad Men is a nationalist project in some ways.
Well, yeah, and I think that we saw in the 1940s all of these films being produced in Hollywood that were being funded by the federal government, and it wasn't just stuff about how it's a good idea to fight against the Nazis. It was also stuff like Meet Me in St. Louis.
Yeah. Whereas, like, I think what I just keep going back to David Lynch. I'm like I think Inland Empire is a great work of art about America.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's at least a very good work of art about, the towns east of Los Angeles.
Yes. Yeah.
For how fascinated I am with that area, I've never watch that film. I'm like, it's built up a prestige and a mystique in my mind where I'm like,
Watch the short first.
okay.
That'll,
Well, it wasn't available for a long time because they couldn't figure out how to digitize the mini DV cassettes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Do you know what a mini DV cassette is? Because I can show you one. I got them in a box right here.
Is that like what the PSP used?
I don't know. Let's take a look at this. Oh yeah.
Hold your phone up to it and press the voice memos button. Duh.
Oh wow. Cute.
Cute. That's a little guy.
Everyone is now holding their own little individual, actual mini DV cassettes.
We're going to be loading our podcasts onto these and selling them at our live shows.
Yes, absolutely.
These are digital videotapes that include high-def video information from more than 20 years ago.
Can we go back? I want to quote something and
I know that most men, not only those considered clever, but even those who are very clever and capable of understanding most difficult scientific, mathematical, or philosophic problems, can very seldom discern even the simplest and most obvious truth, if it be such as to oblige them to admit the falsity of conclusion they have formed, perhaps with much difficulty, conclusions of which they are proud, which they have taught to others, and on which they have built their lives. And therefore I have little hope that when I deduce as to the perversion of art and taste in our society will be accepted or even seriously considered. Nevertheless,
That's those run-on
to me,
sentences.
yes, and to me that's so Adornian, and it's something that like spoke to me deeply in my soul. This thing like, so I know that you're never gonna believe me, or if you do believe me, you're not gonna give a shit. Nevertheless, I persist in identifying my theory of art, which is just like so real because it's just like, because if you're not, it's like neoliberalism. Like if you're not like economically incentivized to accept a ideology, then you're not going to do it, no matter if it's true or not. And I thought that was like, he just like goes out there and says it. And Adorno says the exact same thing when you're in Minima Moralia. So I just wanted to call out that sort of highlight that connection between the two, and how that was like him. That to me was like saying in my soul that was so real. With that in mind, can we talk about like the sort of self-reflexivity of Tolstoy in this text? The thing that I kind of liked, the thing I like stylistically about this is how self-reflexive and like thoughtful he is compared to the Hegel, which felt so like a Jeremiad, you know?
Hegel kind of talks down to you.
Yeah. And so, I mean, Tolstoy, it's not like Tolstoy isn't smug, because he totally is.
Oh, yeah.
And also, but like, I would be too if I were Tolstoy, you know?
And this is Tolstoy at the end of his career as well.
I'm like, he's fed the fuck up. He's got shit he wants to say. Yeah. There's also a part that I really, really liked where I think he's quoting somebody, but he talks about this guy describing like his like a sublime experience where he's drinking a glass of milk in the mountains, and is like this like purity of experience and wonderful. It made me think like, what's your glass of milk in the mountains? Have you ever had like an experience like that? Because it made me think like going on a long bike ride and then having a really cold glass of water is like my favorite feeling in the world. Oh my God. There's a Mountain Goat song actually that like has a lyric about there's nothing like cold water. There is nothing. And I love that line because it's like, yes, cold water after a long bike ride in the sun. That's mine. Glass of milk in the
And
mountains.
he brings this up more or less to discredit the whole like angle of approach on aesthetic philosophy, which is like that which is pleasing is art. Because if that's true, then a glass of milk after a long hot hike is art, right? A view of a mountain is art, you know, which is to say that all of human art is a subset of like sunsets and solar eclipses and the sound of the ocean.
Made me think of that.
Tolstoy would say it's the feeling inspired by those things, the emotion that a sunset inspires, the cold glass of milk inspires, and that the universality of that emotion makes it good art.
It's very deep thoughts with Jack Handy, I feel like. You know the like Jack Handy one from SNL where it's like, what is more beautiful than a flamingo flying across the sky, beating its wings, and also you're really, really drunk. Like we're talking about like we're talking about aesthetic emotions. is
Now,
what
you
we're
bring
really
up a good point, which is, okay, stand-up comedy, right? Generally speaking, you want the audience to have had a few before you get going, right? I'm asking an expert here. Is that the way it works?
I guess that's the idea. Yeah, I have a complicated personal relationship with whether alcohol is like actually inhibition lowering or not,
Please.
but
No, please.
No, go on.
irrelevant.
No, very relevant.
I just don't know. I just don't know. Well, and the other thing is like, I take this one drug, alcohol, that's supposed to like make you like loosen up and uninhibited, but I also take this other drug called the Benjamin that makes you paranoid and skittish. And so my sociality takes a screenshot, as they say.
Yeah.
But that's besides the point. I've got progress to make in my relationship to cannabis. Everybody knows this.
But it does bring up this idea that it determines the value of the art based on the feedback you get from the audience. Right? That the audience, that listening completes the speech act.
See, this is what's so funny to me as an academic because, like, I don't give a shit about what people think about what I wrote because, like, 4 people are gonna read it. Like, it doesn't fucking matter.
Well, Tolstoy thinks that's a big problem.
I know, it's
right?
prob- yeah.
He doesn't like art for art's sake. It's the same reason he doesn't like science for science's sake.
But at the same time, he warns that if you don't, that if so, art for art's sake is easy to take a leap from that to like art made for yourself,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And Tolstoy warns that you can't make art that is purely for other people because it won't resonate with them.
He comes across as a kind of stick in the mud Puritan when he's talking about this stuff.
Yeah, which is weird because I think that he's kind of a capital R romantic, right?
And those guys loved porno.
Yeah, exactly. That like Lord Byron. Like I think it's a little strange. It seems a little out of character for him to talk about it like that. What do you think's going on there?
He is an old man. He's incredibly old here. I think that, but even when he was young, Tolstoy never in his literature really indulged in the beauty of the sensual world. He was
He
often
left that to Kate Bush later.
he was interested in the struggle of the human being to face their soul toward God.
Do you think Kate Bush and the band Bush should collab called Kate Bush Bush?
Well, it's not too late.
Just wondering.
I saw that Bush did a one of those Tiny Desk concerts the other day.
Yeah, they did like a Goo Goo Dolls one.
Yeah, they're doing all of the bands that
The
primarily.
rehabilitation of that guy is disgusting. First he sits next to Ellen, and now he's got a Tiny Desk concert.
What, Johnny Rzeznik from Goo Goo Dolls? What are you talking about?
George Bush?
No, we're talking about the band
No,
Bush.
I was just kidding. I was just kidding.
No, I was
being
thinking.
silly.
I watched the Goo Goo Dolls one with Johnny Rzeznik, and he looks like yassified Cillian Murphy now. It's really weird. Yeah, it does.
He always had, even when he was a young person, a young man in the 90s, he already had plastic surgery face, and some people are just born with it.
Okay, I am obsessed with this. I don't care if this is a detour. This is really important to me. iPhone face, like plastic surgery face. What does that fucking mean? Like, why did I don't understand.
I think it's largely just a thing about how makeup is used.
Is that what it is? Like Republican woman makeup?
Like, I don't think that human beings' faces are significantly different from the way that they were, 150, 200 years ago. I think that photographs from that time have a really low dynamic range and required a specific kind of makeup in order to create
Interesting.
high contrast facial expressions. And so you see, Louise Brooks and, you see Mary Pickford wearing this makeup that you would never see a human being in the 20th century now, or 21st century now, wear. And it's because of the technology, right? And now we have different technologies that allow for people to have different kinds of makeup.
Yeah.
I think that even as recently as the 80s, people who are on people who are on broadcast television and were making shows under studio lights had to wear such horrifying orange makeup that they essentially were, like only adjacent to humanity as an image, right? If you see what Conan O'Brien looked like when he had the makeup on, when he was doing his show in the 90s, you would think that this was this was the witch from Weapons, right? You wouldn't say that this is a human.
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you. That's actually really helpful to me because I did not know. Yeah.
I could be wrong.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, so what were we talking about before I derailed us?
You were saying, Taylor, about
Yes. Whether it's good to get the audience a little drunk first. Well, you have to. And Tolstoy has the answer to this, which is that you have to give the audience a common experience or emotion to form a community around and to erase difference. And sharing in a common activity could be drinking.
Oh, so it's like a raw and the cooked thing,
Yeah, that's right. Claude Levi-Strauss. Levi-Strauss?
I don't know. Yeah.
Very old man when he died. But the concept that shared communal social experiences have certain conditions because they teach us how to go out and live in the world.
How to be human, really.
Right.
Yeah.
So the reason that we have dinner and it's a family will put a big dish in the middle and then spoon out the food onto people's individual plates is because this mirrors the way that the family is a community, but that each individual person is separate from one another. And you don't have sex with your sister for the same reason that you don't eat food off of her plate, which is that there are boundaries that separate the individuals in a family, and the meal is a way of reifying those boundaries.
Yeah, it's a ritual. It's a performance ritual
Right.
that revives and rehearses and
in
makes
that
real.
context, stand-up comedy is likewise a social, temporal manifestation of power structures and expectations in terms of social reality and social power, and therefore it is shaped the way it is because it reflects a society that has these intentions and values.
Okay, do you want me to talk about hack?
Yeah.
Okay, so hack. Okay, you know how last time I was talking about exposure and critique, and about how like the avant-garde and like good art is what is both exposes an extant condition and also critiques it, which is to say mounts an idea in addition as a supplement, creating something new. So hack just exposes. Like there can be really good hack. Like you know who's an excellent hack actually is Dane Cook. Dane Cook is an excellent hack. He's jokes are like builds jokes like a brick shit house.
He would be good art in Tolstoy's first sense of goodness.
Yeah.
But bad art because he is appealing to just well-trodden territory.
He's not creating anything new.
Right.
He's just exposing what we already know. And that can
He's
be
making people feel better about the things they already believe.
and that can be really comforting.
So it's good art, but not
But it's
art
hack.
that's good.
But it's hack. Yeah, that's a great way for it. Yeah, but it's hack. And so hack is one of those things where there can be good hack, there can be bad hack. The Truth Social videos that Trump watches all day long. Apparently, did you read about this? Apparently, he spends someone, an insider said that the public would be surprised by just how many hours he spends watching Truth Social AI slopified videos of himself depicted as like Jesus or whatever. Like, yeah. So that's hack and bad art, right?
Yeah.
And then there's also hack like a sitcom, like a really, really good sitcom. Like Grace and Frankie is, I think, a really great hack show. I love that show. I've learned nothing from it, but it's beautiful and it's funny.
If there is an element in hack art of an artist knows how to manipulate people into having a certain experience, and so they create the circumstances for them to have that experience, and there is never any element of intimacy or vulnerability you're not
critique. I mean,
you're not building a connection to humanity. You are simply feeding people the slop that they are crying out for.
So this is I say that because so often people call someone a hack because they think that they're unskilled, and it's not that a hack is necessarily unskilled. Sure,
It's
there
the
are-
opposite, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
that
they're
it's
too-
that
they're too
Right.
skilled.
they're leaning
know
on their
better.
they're leaning on their skills. And when I have gone out to see stand-up comedy in Chicago, the vast majority of the stand-up that I see, not you, but other people I see perform in Chicago, what they're doing is the kind of hack bullshit that I, as a child, would watch on Comedy Central half-hour clip shows in the early 90s.
That's also true in New York, though. Like most comedies hack.
Yeah, most comedy is hack because most art is hack because it's hard to cut off a chunk of your humanity and shove it into a work of art.
Lin-Manuel Miranda is an excellent hack.
I wonder what you think about a potential parallel between your conception of hack and Tolstoy's notion of the irreligious, like just art that doesn't aspire towards higher ideals.
That's absolutely a parallel. I think they might actually. I think I might be even reheating his nachos. The reason I bring it up too is also, like I said, Andre's been obsessed with my theory of hack for a long time. It's about being too.
It changed my life.
It's about being too skilled. And what I really came to with this idea is it brought me to this idea that I'm actually really interested in more than I am in hack, which is failed hack, which is where you try to appeal to a mass audience. You try to feed the suey to the pigs in the sty, but like you can't. And so Richard Pryor,
Your humanity leaks out.
you can't help but be extraordinary. And I did another in my old podcast from many years ago. I talked about this too. So you can go back and listen to that if you want to. But
I listened to it. The first time I listened to it 2 more times in a row. And I was like, fuck! Damn it!
Yeah, no, it's an unfortunate truth. But I love failed hack is amazing. Failed hack is my example, my go-to example is always like you would have no reason to have come across these, but if you've ever read any of Richard Pryor's screenplays that he wrote in the 70s, where he's like, he needs money, and so he's like, okay, I'm gonna write a heist film. I'm gonna do it. And so it's like insane because he can't do it. He's like, I just need to do something that a lot of people like, so I'll get a bunch of money, and it doesn't work, and they're unhinged and insane. Also, other examples of failed hack are...
So sometimes it occurs because the person lacks the skill to be a sufficient hack, and so they fill in the gaps with their humanity.
Right, like children's art sometimes is really good failed hack.
Right.
Yeah.
I recall being in like second grade and trying to write a story in the style of the stuff that I liked, and then I go back, years later and look at it. I'm like,
What the fuck?
yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah,
Children
me
make
too.
It was a hack.
No, like me too. Like I really loved Emily Dickinson, so I'd try to write poems like hers, and they're fucking crazy. They're just like there's like a whole line that's just a line. Because I was like, it was really stupid. Yeah. So yeah, those are I think it's absolutely the irreligious, though. I think I'm basically just sort of restating that, but I'm positioning it more within like a market economy in terms of art, art making and art reception.
But sometimes the people do have the skills to be a hack, but the problem is that their humanity is sort of like pushing at the edges of its container and forcing its way out in any way that it can in a kind of explosive decompression, right?
Explosive decompression. Tell me more about that.
Well, like a balloon bursting, or like a portal on a spaceship exploding and forcing air out into space because of the lack of pressure in the other direction. Like humanity is like exploding out of this person because they've got so much of it and it's so bottled up, and they have so few opportunities to express themselves that they make this thing, and the intention is to not scare the hose.
Yes.
But then they scare the hose.
That's in those situations.
And they should, according to Tolstoy. Tolstoy said, scare the host.
He absolutely did.
And, that kind of dynamic is where you often get really good comedy. Because I think, like, I was thinking about this book that I want us all to read eventually, The Sluts by Dennis Cooper. What's so brilliant about this book is that it's epistolary, and it's all written in the form of forum posts for reviewing gay escorts in Los Angeles. And and then it keeps telling stories about this like lurid like guy named Brad he's possibly the best fuck of all time, and after they're like, yeah, you can do anything, blah blah blah, and they're talking, and they tell these really extreme, brutal, violent stories, but then they'll like take it back and they'll be like, but that's whole bullshit. I can prove that didn't happen, blah blah blah, and then so you're like you're being put through the ringer emotionally with these like torturous images and like it's so violent and horrific, and then it's like, oh, but it did not happen. And that's really funny to me. That's really funny that like you're charting this new thing and then you're walking it back, which is a hack thing. It's very hack to walk something back, but that's also very funny. And then it'll like come. It's very manipulative. It's like it's like being a DJ. It's like, yeah, Dennis Cooper's like a DJ at a rave, and you're just like, oh my god, I just keep.
But I think what Dennis Cooper points at in his writing, though, is a thing that undercuts one of the key points of Tolstoy, which is that Tolstoy says that art can't be sensual and it has to appeal to everyone. And Dennis Cooper makes extraordinary writing that I've loved for 20 years, but
it's not for
everyone. And
it's not for most people. Yeah.
It's definitely also extremely sensual.
My joke that I've been saying is I'm like, I recommend The Sluts for fans of heated rivalry.
But, I don't know that Tolstoy would have approved of this text.
Oh, no.
But I think it is clearly an extraordinary work. Like all Dennis Cooper, it is this, opportunity for this queer identity to manifest in this way that it can only really exist in a text because of so much violence and so much rape and so much like crime.
Gore, yeah.
Yeah. Like if you made a film out of one of these things, it would be the kind of transgressive Richard Kern kind of Nick Zed 80s like
it would
Lydia
be banned
Lunch
all
stuff.
over it would be one of those like most banned films, you know?
It would certainly not unify the brotherhood of man.
Yeah.
That is not his Dennis Cooper's project.
Yeah.
I think it's a reasonable takeaway from Tolstoy's criteria for good art and good art, and the two differences meanings we've defined. It's pretty much impossible to not enjoy and consume art that's bad in the moral sense.
Yeah.
Bad in the second sense, in the sense that it does not unite humanity, right? And that it reifies difference or depends on a specific cultural context. These are all things that he cites as being antithetical to religious Christian art.
But there's such a thing. Andre and I talk about this all the time about like good conservative art, like Clint Eastwood movies. And I wondered how that framework about understanding good movies with bad politics would map onto this text.
It's a temporal thing, and this is another thing that that undermines Tolstoy's point, right? The idea that everyone could possibly benefit from the same work of art ignores the fact that people's lives are so different from one another. That they are essentially living on different planets, and that it is because of the income distribution.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's no way that everyone on Earth is going to be on board with the same kind of movie or book or music. These people's lives are changed over time by the same forces, but at different rates. And so no two people are on the same journey, right? Because they have different material circumstances. Now, they might have class interests that align, that allow them to enjoy something, but not everybody in the world is in the same class. And that is why there's class struggle.
Yeah. That's
Right.
that's what the Catholic Church tried to proffer, right? Is like, here's this mass culture for everyone, and you just have to come to church to experience it. Right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. The church is a very early, very
For the
large-scale
synagogue
example of mass
yeah.
art.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, eventually maybe we talk about, Noel Carroll or
Can we go to Catholic Mass
Krakauer.
and like have little lapels on and be whispering
Do a
into
field
them?
recording at
Yeah.
a Catholic mass. That actually
Yeah,
sounds
that's a good
really
idea.
fun.
Yeah, we should
Is
do
that
that.
is that sacrilegious? Is that bad?
Oh fuck, who cares?
All right, true. All right, yeah, let's do it. Do we have? I don't even know.
Tell you what, you convert to Christianity before we go, and then you can convert back when we get back.
Right, that
Okay.
way it's not dishonest.
Okay. Allah Oh, wait, no, sorry.
No, so keep going.
Already fucking it up. I've never understood how people are so bad at Christianity. It's so easy.
So the
Muhammad is his
reason,
prophet. Okay.
to answer your question, Andre, as to why can't Tolstoy seemingly account for the differences in people, right, and the things that they'll value
Main
and
character
like.
syndrome.
Well, is that he's too modernist for that. You know, he has lashed himself to the mast of universalism at every possible opportunity in this text.
Okay, and also, but you're asking a lot of an 1890s Tolstoy. Like, that's in the water.
He would have had no idea. Right.
That's like everybody. Like, that's when modernism is modernizing.
course.
Yeah.
Well, I think also art that's wrapped up in identity by its nature can't be universal, which means anything that is like about being queer, for example, or about being black, or about being a woman, or about anything,
scaring the
any
hoes.
work that's about anything can't be universal because not everybody has that experience.
Yeah.
I would like to. I'm mostly.
Hold music, maybe. You know, like when you're on the phone on hold.
Well, yeah, but the thing is that then we get into like Belvedere Torso stuff where it's like you abstract the thing until it has nothing to do with reality, and then at that point it can be universal, but it also at that point it is completely neutered.
But see but there's a version of that doesn't do it, which is this identification thing I was talking about earlier, where you can sort of decontextualize something that's deeply pernicious and mendacious and apply it to your own means just by exercising it purely formally. And then you can make it do whatever you want. And that doesn't mean neutering it. You can, like I said, it could be Jamaican gay guys dancing to homophobic music. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be defanged.
I think that for Tolstoy, the cream of the crop for religious art, he names a couple of like other acceptable things like universality, but like the thing that is the most valuable art to him is that which breaks down difference.
Yes.
And I don't see how you can break down difference if you're not starting from a place of difference, right?
See, my entire deal as someone who's obsessed with truth is I want to build more walls. I'm trying, which is to say, not build. I'm trying to show. I'm exposing more walls,
Okay.
and I'm not interested.
That's
in
not building.
Right. I guess. Well, yeah.
That's
no,
deconstructing.
I'm exposing walls. I'm not I'm interested in telling the truth and uncovering things that are hidden or taken from us. And so telling the truth sometimes means showing the wall that's there in the first place.
So not so much we are all a brotherhood of man, everyone is the same, but rather the opposite. How am I not myself?
Well, how am I not myself? Yes, and we'll do a drop for that. And it's also like a shared alienation. I call it like being alone together. Is like is like a big method for me. Yeah.
Being alone together even when you are actually alone.
Yeah.
Being alone together with yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The self-sameness of identity and subjectivity and how that can be split apart and alienating.
But I think Tolstoy's conception of identity and self is probably different from, say, for example, when Hegel was talking about the self-other problem, right? Tolstoy talks so much about the unity of the human race that
Manhood, the unity of all men.
Yeah,
right, the brotherhood of
we
man.
need to bring that up. We should talk. That should be something we
Yeah.
do to sort of as we sort of wind down.
Well, I think Tolstoy, as a 19th century Russian Orthodox Christian who is actually not Orthodox and not even maybe in certain ways Christian, like
Maybe not even a guy. Who knows? It's modernism, baby.
Yeah. I think that when he's talking in 1898, it is before women can vote. It's before women can own property. It's before women are allowed to go to college, right? In Russia, it's much worse than it is in the United States when it comes to the roles and rights of women.
Because industrialization lagged behind in Russia compared to the West.
Well, yeah, the weird thing about Russia was that, like, Marx was like, oh, capitalism's this necessary step that connects feudalism to communism, right? It's the intermediary point, and it's part of the journey. And then Russia just didn't do it.
They were like,
Russia didn't start capitalism until after they were already done with communism. Right. So, like, I think, but the thing is, you can look at his contemporaries and you can look at people like Chekhov, who doesn't have this sort of misogynistic point of view about the role men play in, like, creating meaning and experiences in the world. I think it really is just a generational thing. I think he is.
Oh, that's interesting.
I think that, like, he was so old when he wrote this that he didn't see the future as being, like, part of this social progressive movement toward equality among all people, and instead was, like, hung up on the stuff that was cutting edge, you know, when he was a young man, which was stuff about the workers rising up.
This is an interesting frame that I hadn't considered about generational. I think that's
Yeah.
good.
I
Thank
mean,
you.
there were all over the world, you know, Emma Goldman and, you know, Rosa Luxemburg, and there were people that were bridging the gap in this period between, you know, the social project of communism and the social project of feminism. But, like, first wave feminism essentially doesn't even start until the 20th century.
Yeah.
And this is 1898, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, I think Tolstoy is not woke because he is old.
Honestly, sometimes the simplest explanation is the best. You know, this might be one of those times, I think. Yeah.
And, you know, he doesn't mention, like, women writers. And there were a lot of very important women writers in the period of time that he is examining.
1890s Russia. Well, the thing that's so frustrating to me, like, I was talking about how he's essentially teleological, and that's to me like a problem as much as it is like productive. But, like, I was just thinking, like, Trump would call him, like, teleological Tolstoy, you know, if he knew what that meant, which he does not.
teleological Tolstoy says my art is church art.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. That's just, to me, like, as someone, like, as a post-structuralist by training, I'm just, like, I really struggle with the grand narrative aspect of it. I really do. I also just think, like, women's history and, like, minoritarian history and struggle is not a linear thing. So I want to always, like, pay respect to that aspect of whenever I'm talking about art, because I'm like, is that true for all art? I don't know.
Nothing is true for all art, which is
Yeah.
another thing that hurts Tolstoy and his project.
Yeah, it does. It really does. Okay. Do we have anything that we want to sort of end on?
I'm curious to hear from you too if you think of any examples. We've outlined kind of our own disagreements and shortcomings that we see in the faults that we find in Tolstoy's framework, but let's assume it for a moment. Let's assume that we're evaluating it as the best art that deserves to be exalted is the art that's both good and morally good. Can you think of any stand-up comedians
Oh, plenty. Tons.
who are...
Morally good, but not. Yeah.
No. I'm talking about good in both of Tolstoy's senses.
Oh.
Almost all comedians are good in one of Tolstoy's senses and not the other, but I'm thinking both.
Mark Maron, maybe.
Tig Notaro is the one that immediately
Tig
comes-
Notaro. Yes.
Yeah.
It used to fucking be Louis many years ago. It was Louis.
There was a very brief window in between Louis restarting his stand-up career after directing movies didn't go places, and then everybody remembering that he likes to jerk off in front of women who are trapped in a room.
He's never apologized. People keep saying, like, he apologized. No, he says he can't quite bring himself to do it. He has yet to actually apologize. And as a Jewish man, he is aware that there is a very long tradition that is thousands of years old about recuperation and recovery and apology and how you make up for your transgressions. There's Talmudic framework for this.
I thought he was Mexican.
He's both.
Mexicans got the Talmud.
Yeah. So he has both. And so I don't, like, the system's there. You just got to use it, man. This drives me crazy. Danya Ruttenberg is a rabbi. She writes about this, about, like, repair as, like, a Jewish process. It's really interesting. But anyway, Yeah, there's
Louis,
some.
do Tikkun Olam. Come on.
Okay, yeah. I think, yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's also comedians that like comedians really hate who purport to be morally good but aren't like aesthetically good. Like Hannah Gadsby's is a common. I am more sympathetic to, after the not the problematic thing was a bridge too far for me. I was like, this is awful. But I actually thought the first thing, the Nanette thing, I thought it was kind of interesting. I thought like Rachel McCartney hated it so much. Like I could see her like getting angry with me. But I was like, I thought it was kind of an interesting work of art. It's not very good stand-up comedy, but it's an interesting work of art. That's what I thought about it.
Yeah, it would be nice if what we could get was woke and funny. And
Yeah.
sometimes you get stuff that is both.
Well, this is what pisses me off about like how Cumtown boys are being like, oh, they're like the new woke left. And it's like, those guys fucking ruined my friend's life. Like, you know what I mean? Like they need to take responsibility for their fans because they are fucking awful. And I'm just not willing to really like, I'll watch Adam Friedland and enjoy his work and think he's brilliant, but I'm like, I don't trust him, you know?
He's a bug.
Wait, what do you mean?
That's an inside joke among listeners of the show, which I'm not, but I'm adjacent to. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
You know who's funny and woke is Zoran Mamdani.
Yes.
Fuck.
Yeah. Although, I don't know. What do you guys think about him teaming up with Obama? I think it's smart and strategic, but I can understand if that. It's
Well,
also...
I mean, he teamed up with Trump.
Right.
And
like,
then got what he wanted,
he's
and
playing
Trump
ball.
got nothing.
Trump is obsessed with him. It's hilarious.
Everybody's obsessed with him. His political opponents are obsessed with him. His political supporters are obsessed with him. Everybody's obsessed with him. And I think part of it is that since he can never be president, it means we don't ever have to worry about it not working out. Because
Yeah.
he's already as high up as he can go.
Yeah. My favorite is people like liberals for some reason forgetting how like the like industry works and being like, well, where's Rama's money for her work? Where's her wardrobe money coming from? She's wearing $600 earrings. Blah 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 blah. I'm like, so those shoots, they're giving her the clothes. She doesn't get to keep them. Like people just don't know. People just act so stupid about this stuff. Anyway, that has been bothering me for a while. I just wanted to say it.
Graft is actually only a problem when the people you don't like are in power.
Exactly.
Did you know that?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Only when, and it's particularly brown people, non-white people get accused of graft pretty flippantly.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But I mean, this formulation, it seems gross and crass and, simple.
Tolstoy's?
No, the one that we're discussing about like woke plus funny.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think.
Maybe that's us. Are we woke and funny? Readers, chime in. Listeners, I mean.
Well, you know what this brings up to me is something that I did want to discuss, and we only have a little bit of time left. But there's a cinema studies writer named Rick Altman who's written a book called Film Genre.
I told you about Rick Altman, motherfucker.
I was reading Rick Altman when I was working in the cinema studies department at NYU when you were in fucking middle school.
Okay, sorry. Never mind.
Okay, so Rick Altman.
Can you edit the piano over that?
So Rick Altman wrote about film genre, and among other things, one thing he wrote was that it operates as a feedback loop between the producers of the work and the audience. Right? It's a literal version of the drill tweet, turning a big dial labeled racism and looking back at the audience like it's The Price is Right. That's what genre is.
Yeah, no, it is,
You
yeah.
make something and you call it a Western and you put it out, and
Yeah.
then the audience tells you if you're right.
That's absolutely correct. That is 100% how genre works.
And that's how, correct me if I'm wrong here, that's how stand-up works, right? You have a joke, you think it's funny, you tell it in front of an audience, and they tell you if it's funny.
Which is why it's like the ultimate faux pas, right? Is if you're like, oh, the audience wasn't good tonight. It's like, that's your job.
You're the
motherfucker.
audience.
Yeah. Like,
Now, that is the opposite of Schopenhauer, and it's very much not part of what Tolstoy is talking about.
Chappelle, for example, does that. He's like blaming the audience for taking his stuff.
Seinfeld did the same thing. Like, all of these people who
Cowardice.
are like, I know I'm still funny, but the audience stopped laughing. What's wrong with them?
Yeah.
Right? So I do think that if you see the determination of the value based on the effect, right? And that is Tolstoy's calculus, right? He says, you have an obligation to do good in the world. Even when you're making art, you are held responsible for the consequences of your actions as an artist. The work that you make has to do good in the world. But the thing is, if you make a calculation based on an expectation of the outcome of audience reaction before the thing is even in front of an audience, that's the definition of hack.
Yeah. Yep, that's right. That's true. Yeah. Predetermination gives the game away.
Right. Obviously, each one of us is morally obligated to cater to the expectations we have for the moral outcome of our actions. But as an artist, that means that it is up to each of us to do due diligence to learn how the work that we make can be either constructive or destructive once the rubber meets the road, as it were. Right? And so that means that inevitably there's this either a period of learning where you're doing it wrong and you do bad things and you hurt people, or you just get lucky and that person is the great artist. Or, you have such an extraordinary encyclopedic knowledge of human emotional experience that you always know exactly how everyone is going to respond to everything you do before you do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not as though when a work of art is it's not as though when a work of art is received well, that's always incidental, right? Does the artist get no credit for successfully, I guess, anticipating or understanding how the audience is going to respond? And
no, you get if you're a filmmaker, you get an Oscar and you get $100 million.
Yeah.
If you're capable of that, then the rewards are extraordinary.
Yeah.
Right? If you are a comedian who can create a sitcom that runs for 10 years and is the number one thing on TV and on streaming, and people are quoting The Office for 20 years afterward, then you get to make things for the rest of your life. You get enormous monetary rewards. You get celebrated and you get given awards everywhere you go. You get to feel good about yourself. Occupational prestige, right? It's not
go on any podcast.
Oh, gosh. Or if you want, not. That's even better.
You get to opt out of going on podcasts.
Yeah, you don't have to.
Seen
This
the
elite trick.
where Caleb Heron asks Chris Fleming, like, why don't you have a podcast?
Yes.
And he says, because I think there'll be a reward waiting for me.
Yes,
after
I love that. I saw that. It's so funny. Those two,
That is a very Tolstoy way of thinking about art making.
those two, Caleb Heron and Chris Fleming are like killing it right now.
You could
They're
argue
amazing.
that they're good art in both senses.
Yes, I've been riding the Chris Fleming train for like 12 years.
Woke plus funny.
Yeah, amazing. Okay,
So for more Woke Plus Funny,
stay tuned and keep waiting for our next episode next week. I'm so excited.
I want to once again thank Alex Rancourt for making the beautiful music at the top of the show.
Beautiful music. Thank you.
And we'll see you all next time.